Previously on Case Unsolved.
Michaud, white female, cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation. And she was laying on the bed, naked, cord around her neck.
And our department really wanted to solve this.
It's always stayed with me, right on through all the different ranks that I held and all the different jobs that I did in the police department.
For some places, well, she's just a prostitute. What are you doing spending all that time?
I mean, it's not like this happened even 5 years ago. I mean, this is 1984, 30 some years ago. Let's close this case. That's what I want. And whatever it takes.
I'm Carlos Virgen from The Day in New London, Connecticut. On Case Unsolved, we tell the stories of unsolved murders and the people, family, friends, and law enforcement who are left without resolution. This is the third and final part of Desiree Michaud's story.
A young person like that, who knows what she could have done with her life.
There's some people that die in life and you say, well, they lived their life, but does she get a chance to?
I think that she was symbolic of New London.
Susaniken, now a freelance writer in California, covered the murder and its aftermath for The Day.
New London's a town with a pretty dark history. There's whaling, and then we know now that the slave trade really built the economy of New England. And then, of course, the mills, and her family was French-Canadian, came down to work in the mills, and then the mills collapsed. So there's this long period of poverty in New London being essentially a red light district for the Navy. And so here was Desiree, who had this desire to be an artist, and this at the same time there was this effort underway to really change New London, or to take this kind of seediness of New London and turn it into art, turn it into something really positive. So I think when she was killed, it was a sort of sense of dashed hopes.
Here's reporter Karen Florin.
Some of our initial reporting on this mentioned that a play called Hands had been produced almost inspired by or in honor of Desiree Michaud.
We included her, not really her, but what she represented.
Resurrección Espinosa co-wrote Hands with her late husband, Charles Frink.
Which was an artist who has to struggle in our community, or in any community that he or she lives in, and who found an ending that was both, we thought that it was in a way predictable, because it was such a dangerous place in a way, and very touching because, of course, her own hopes for becoming an artist, which is what she wanted to do. She was a very good painter, were cut short. So for us, it was an homage to an artist.
She was very enthusiastic about coming in, sharing all the material with us, the music, the script, and what she remembered from the atmosphere being after Desiree was killed, and how it really did touch people in the arts community, because Desiree had been in the arts community and everybody had high hopes for Desiree, and it really affected them.
Hands was a play about life on Bank Street, with characters inspired by the people Frink and Espinosa met there. A waitress with a bad back, a savvy stockbroker, a tenacious urban gardener, and an eloquent teenage hoodlum, according to a 1985 article in The Day. The title was inspired, at least in part, by a mural Desiree painted while in prison.
One of our actresses was a security officer. I don't know whether that's the term.
Correction officer.
A correction officer at the York prison in Niantic. And she knew that this painting was there, and a photographer went and photographed it. And of course, it was great for us because there were two hands. One was black and the other was white, and there were bars, and they were passing a rose through the bars. So that was another way in which it connected with the hands, and it connected with our bigger meaning of reaching out, of creating, and of being more gentle neighbors.
The whole production wasn't about Desiree, but a couple of numbers were about Desiree.
The music you hear in the background is from a cassette recording of Hands. We didn't have a recording of the dialogue, so we brought in actors to read a few scenes.
There's one in particular where a policeman is talking about it.
I don't know nothing about art, all that crazy stuff, but these are real pictures. Now tell me, how come she was a whore? I don't mean no occasional trick to pay the rent. I mean a good, steady, hard-working whore. Busted 13 times. Now, you know, we try to look the other way. We only bust them when there's complaints. 13 goddamn times. She could have done something else. Yeah, she had talent.
And there's another part where two women, it sounds like an older and younger prostitute, are also talking about it, you know, wistfully, as in, but hauntingly, as in, wow, you know, it could have happened to us, but it happened to Desiree Michaud, and she was actually somebody kind of special.
Who do you suppose done it?
I don't know. You don't know. Why bother supposing?
Can't help supposing. I mean, suppose we get some big trick moved in and gets it off killing the girls.
Anybody tries it on me gets a kick in the balls.
Yeah, but I ain't got your muscle.
They represent two ladies of the night. The hygienic was a place where these women would come. It was open all the time. There was a sign that says, open for breakfast when open, which means any time of the day or night that you could go there. Also, there was a saying that if you ever, that it was the dirtiest restaurant this side of the Mississippi, even though it was called the hygienic.
Suppose we get some nut moved in. Suppose that's it.
Nah, she had it coming.
Huh?
Face it, she was too good looking for the street. Too smart. She belonged higher up. Some jerk probably thought he really cared about her, wanted her to quit the trade, and she wouldn't go with him, and they had it out after some booze and stuff, and she lost.
There was a lot of talk around that she wanted to save money and leave town. And I suppose, you know, we thought that probably it was a very good, probably an idea that made sense, that somebody cared for her and didn't want her to leave.
Imagine hands around your throat so you can't breathe, no help, no place. Jeez.
Maybe it ain't so bad.
Huh?
I think of the lady I worked for once. Ended up in the hospital. Tubes and tests and dope. Took months for her to choke to death. Maybe a good strong pair of hands ain't all that bad.
Yeah, but 18?
So, who's coming? For you and me, huh? What's coming?
The policeman's talking about what could have been almost makes a social commentary in terms of, geez, they're putting all this effort into finding who killed her, but why didn't they put the effort into getting her off the street, helping her get her life together, helping her achieve her dreams and use her talent as an artist?
18 years old. Had to run into some nut. So now they got money on him. That's the part that burns my ass. Now she's dead, they put money to catch the creep who done it. They should have paid her to paint pictures in City Hall, the library, the hospital, every place. They spend it on you when you need it.
He was grieving, really, for the fact that we pay attention to these tragedies when somebody has been hurt, okay? But we really don't pay much attention about the conditions of lives of a lot of people, especially young people. How do we help them to really to deal with the great challenges that we have? And also how we can help them to develop rather than leave them out really in the cold, as Desiree was. And that he was bemoaning that, I think. The fact that we as a society failed people in that way.
It was a pretty powerful production that, when asked about, Desiree's own sister didn't really know about. So imagine that. I mean, she's living here in the area, and the arts community in New London is having this huge response to Desiree's, murder, and Desiree's own family is not really even aware of that's going on. Our initial reporting, 30 odd years ago indicated there was an unmarked grave. And when I asked Tina about that, she said, oh, no, it's marked. It's a marked grave. And I said, wow, would you show it to us? So that one Saturday afternoon, she agreed to meet us there. I guess she's got a very busy life, working, married with children and grandchildren. She agreed to meet us there between her jobs one Saturday afternoon. And Tina had said she had only been to the cemetery, I think, twice before. She'd only been to her sister's grave twice before. And so she didn't quite know where it was, but knew it was under a tree. And of course, it's a cemetery with quite a few trees, and as many have. And we spent, some time walking around, kicking leaves away from graves, looking for Desiree's gravesite. Her mother had given her some direction on where it was, but she all she really knew was it's under the big tree on this side of the cemetery. So I was afraid that she was going to give up, and I didn't want to give up, so we just spent some time until finally I kicked some leaves off a grave, and there it was, Desiree Michaud.
Desiree's grave marker with a small cross above her name. There's a small artist's palette with a paintbrush etched beneath it, and on either side of the artist, the painter's palette, are her year of birth, 1965, and her year of death, 1984.
We haven't seen any of her art, and her family has told us several times that all of her art, anything that was in her possession, is being held by the police as evidence.
They have everything. She has so many pictures in that photo album, we can't get it.
The police took it as evidence?
Yeah. They have everything. They have all her drawings, all her pictures, whatever she had.
So it seems there is nothing for us to look at, maybe someday.
Though Connecticut's cold case unit has been defunded, cold cases are considered active. Groton detective Heather Beauchamp, who had been a member of the cold case unit, recently followed up on a tip in the Desiree Michaud case.
I did receive a tip, and we conducted more interviews here to try to firm up the tip that we received. And we did make a trip down to Texas, and we followed up on that lead, and we've pretty much completed the lead. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to solve the case.
Retired detectives Mike Lewin and Matt Morton continue to hold out hope that someone, somewhere, will call in a tip that will lead to an arrest.
if anyone has any information, just call and leave the information with the police department, whether it's New London Police Department or the town police department. Anything that they would say would be followed up.
The reward, I believe, is still out there. You might have heard somebody talking about it, an uncle or, a friend.
Somebody knows something. Something like that you don't keep to yourself. I don't care who you are, you're going to say something to someone, whether it was back then and whoever they told it to was too afraid to say something, or after time, after so many years, you may be at a bar drinking and somebody will blurt something out. It happens. It always, sooner or later, someone else is going to know. And we're just waiting for that other person to make a phone call. If it proves the follow up on you make an arrest on it, on conviction, there is a reward.
If you have a tip about Desiree Michaud's murder, please contact the Groton Town Police at 860-441-6716 or the New London State's Attorney's Office at 860-443-2835. We'll be recording a bonus episode on the Desiree Michaud case. Next week, we'll answer listener questions and we'll talk to Groton Town Detective Heather Beauchamp and Assistant State's Attorney Krista L. Baker, who is assigned to prosecute the Michaud case. If you have a question about the Michaud case, post it on the Case Unsolved Facebook group or email us at caseunsolved@theday.com. Case Unsolved is produced by Peter Wappy and me, Carlos Virgen. Reporting was done by Karen Florin. Editing and audio mixing by Peter Wappy. Tim Cotter is executive producer and Sassy Larinetta is associate producer. I produce the music used in the series. Voice actors for the reading of scenes from Hands the Play were Madeline Dower, Sharon Marr, and Joe Ruggieri. This has been a production of The Day in New London, Connecticut.